Joining me now is Anthony Appello of the band Gun Sal. They have a new album called Rebels and Rogues, and it includes a great version of a song that we all know, Hair of the Dog, and we'll talk about that and the album in general. Anthony, welcome to the show.
So much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, let's just start with the fact that you're a band with a very southern rock sound, but the South that you are associated with is right here in Southern California. So, how does a good southern rock band find themselves in Southern California?
It's kind of strange, actually. We all loved the music, and we're all from different parts of the country, and we
Right.
all here, and it didn't quite start off as Southern rock. I mean, when we started jamming together and just messing around, I wasn't even singing at the time, and it just kind of blossomed into something else. And we had kind of made a decision a couple of years into it that the direction we wanted to go is the music we really enjoy listening to. So we figured somebody's got to try and bring it back, and so we put our spin to it, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, I noticed on your YouTube channel that when your latest album came out last fall, you had a big event in Long Beach. So talk about, having support here in Southern California, and the demand for, you know, good rock music is good rock music, whatever you want to put the word Southern before it, you want to put the word alternative before it, you want to put the word classic before it. It's still people still like to rock whatever here. So talk about the support here in Southern California for you guys.
Well, when we started playing, we were more of a rock-based music, and we started to build a pretty decent following. And when we started playing more Southern rock tunes, we realized that the people loved it. I mean, we would open up for a band that, um, for example, the Iron Maidens. They're a great band, great,
Yeah.
and they really kick ass. And uh, but when we played, the audience just went crazy, and they loved what we were doing. They loved the music we were playing, and I think it's just it was a needed fresh change to what everyone's so used to. And we're very much not a cover band. We really push our originals. Hair of the Dog is something special to me, but yeah, so it wasn't that hard, believe it or not, building up a pretty decent following here in Southern California. There's a lot of people here that absolutely love that kind of music, and there's definitely a lot of counties in Southern California that are based in that lifestyle. So it's been a pretty interesting ride, and it's all worked out so far.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Los Angeles County, so there's a very, obviously there's a lot of the traditional venues there, but you can go out. There's great places in Orange County, and even I was talking before we started. There's you can find rock, country, a little mix of everything out in Riverside County, and they're all a little different, which is something that you probably would notice, maybe over the last 2 years, when different counties had different rules of like, well, you can have bands play here, but they can only be outside or they can be inside, and there were a lot of different rules. And it was like, I mean, we spent part of the summer of 2020 at my in-laws in Orange County, and it was kind of like, in a good way, it was like a different planet down there. But have you guys been able to play a lot over the last couple of years? Maybe less in LA County, during maybe the mid 2020 and early 2021.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard finding things to do, and I mean, and when it first went down with the COVID situation, pretty much everywhere was shut down. No one
Yeah.
really. But as we got further and further into it, counties like Riverside and San Bernardino and Orange County, they really started to lay back a little bit on restrictions, and it opened up opportunities. For the most part, we practiced through the whole thing. We had our own studio, and we all went and did our thing. We took any precautions we thought we needed to do, but we just kept going, man, because you know so many bands stopped, and we didn't want to do that. We said, listen, everything is shut down right now. Let's try to take advantage of the situation. Let's finish our album. Let's, when this thing is over, because we knew one day it was going to be over, and we said, when it's over, let's just come out like a damn train out of control, and let everybody hear the new stuff that we created.
Yeah, and I mean it's a great time for people to discover new music from new up and coming bands like yours, but also, classic artists weren't able to do anything. So you have so much music coming out right now in a good way, because you have, especially some of the older, more established artists, they may have felt like, yeah, we're just going to go out on tour and play the greatest hits because that's kind of what people want. But you're getting new albums, and I think that you're seeing that there's a demand for it. I mean, just in general. How long have you and the rest of the band been together, and how did you were you in other bands with any of the guys, or how does Six Gun Sal come together?
Well, Six Gun Sal is was kind of a mistake. That worked out great. One day Dusty, our rhythm guitar player, me and him have been friends, probably for like the past 2,500 years. And, in the old days when we worked together in law enforcement, we used to go to this spot after work, and he had some horses. So we would we would go to these stables, and they had a drum set in there, and he played guitar, and we would, just mess around with some Ozzy Osbourne stuff, and I would just play drums.
Nice.
That's what I had played drums. And so we did that for a while, and then we kind of went our separate ways. And gosh, it had to have been about 4 years later. He just called me out of the blue one day and said, "Hey, do you want to come over to our spot in Inglewood and jam a little bit?" And I was like, "Oh, hell yeah!" I haven't done that in years. Why not? So I went and did it, and we played for a couple of weeks, literally almost every day. And the drummer they had at the time, who's not our drummer, came back, and and I humbly bowed out because the guy was a phenomenal drummer, and obviously they're having some fun. And as I'm leaving, Dustin says, "Hey, bro, before you go," he's like, I wrote these lyrics down on something I've been messing with. Do you mind reading the words as I'm playing?" And I don't know what the protocol is for your show, because I would normally use a colorful metaphor here.
You can be as colorful as you like. YouTube is very forgiving. Yeah.
So I basically said, "Fuck you, bitch, I can sing." So everybody, I grabbed this mic on a pretty little PA that we had, and I started singing. And I got to the first verse, and we finished, and everybody just stopped. And we all just kind of looked at each other, and they started laughing. And then Dusty goes, "God damn, you can sing." I said, "Bro, I can't sing to save my ass. What are you talking about?" Like, I'm just goofing around. And the rest is history, man. And that was the very, very humble beginning of what turned out to be Six Gun Sal.
And that song, was that something that ended up on an album, or something that you guys do, or did it was that just the beginning of the seeds of something?
That ended up being a song. It was actually called "Coming Home," and it was on our first album that we ever released. And our first album was all over the place because initially, before it became an actual, act that goes out and plays, we were going to, of course, when you're first starting out, you have all these illusions of grandeur, and we're like, we're going to make soundtrack songs, and these are going to be movies, and we're going to be famous for making soundtracks. And I laugh about it now because it was so ridiculous back then, when I look back on it. But that was our whole thing for a minute there. So we made like 3 or 4 songs, and then a movie opportunity did come up, and we're like, okay, great. So they actually were going to use our songs in the movie. And we thought, wow, man, this is great. Now see, I told you it was going to happen. Like all things in Hollywood, the movie fell through at the very end with all the investors who committed to the movie. When it comes time to cut a check, all of a sudden everybody has financial issues, just like a normal
Yeah.
Hollywood. And so the movie got, and we were sitting there one day, and I said, man, I said, screw this. I said, why don't we just start playing bars or something, and just go out there and jam. And half the band was just, I can't even call it a band yet, but half the group was just, yeah, let's do that. And then, and of all people, Dusty was a little, hesitant. He's like, "Oh man, I don't know if I want to go do that," and blah, 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 blah. And we kept talking about it for a couple of weeks. And then finally we said, well, if we're going to do this, we need to come up with a band name. And we were sitting in the office there, and I was just looking around, and I said, well, dude, I said, what our history, your military background, your law enforcement background, my law enforcement background, I said, we should do something with Six Gun, like a Six Gun something. And then, we were going to go for Six Gun Salvation, and it was already taken. And then I said, well, I'm Italian. I go, and I kind of grew up in Jersey. I said, so I'll be Sal, I'll be like, or I'll just make up a name. So we became Six Gun Sal, and then, it just blossomed into something, man. And here we are today, almost 7 years later. The core band is still together, me, Dustin, and Joey, who ended up being our drummer, and it was just a great time. And we started playing shows, and people really started to enjoy us and ask us to play again, and it kept going and going and going, and then finally in 2020 we did our one of our music videos. We did a music video release party, and it just went nuts. It got so much coverage, so much press. And next thing you know, we were getting phone calls from venues back east and everything like that. So we actually had a small tour set up, and then of course the shutdown happened, and everything just
Yeah.
got. Um, so yeah, it's just been a really cool, amazing ride, and now we have amazing people that have come into our lives and have really given us an opportunity to do what we've always wanted to do, which is make music and not worry about venues, not worry about management, not worry about trying to put deals together, trying to raise money. I mean, so it was literally a godsend.
You were you referenced a song called "Coming Home," and I know from being on your YouTube channel earlier that I saw that there's a video there where it looked like it's soldiers coming home, and so I assume that that's what that song is actually about. It's not one of those things where the video just sort of references that, right? Is that so? Does that come from the military background from some of the guys in the group?
Big part of that song was military in mind, and that song was originally supposed to be in a movie, which was a underground fighting movie that had to do basically with the old Clint Eastwood movies, like Any Which Way They Come, and and it was going to be like a almost a sequel to one of those. And so the song was going to be in there in a specific part of the movie, and we listening to the words and how it comes, it just made sense, like, because we're very big supporters of our military and our veterans, and so it made sense. So the person that does a lot of our IT stuff, who handles our website and our Instagram and all that stuff, she's the one that actually put that together, and it made sense, and we thought that's pretty cool. So we've never made an official video
Okay.
for Coming Home. The only videos we have right now is Remember My Name, which was the first music video we made, Red Blooded American being the second, and then The Life is our third music video.
Right. Okay. So then, yeah, I knew I saw a little thumbnail of that, but so that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, look, there's it's tough to not watch those videos, where a soldier comes and surprises their kid at school or some event, and anytime you see that, you're like, no, it just must be dusty in here. That must be why my eyes are wet, and it's nice to be able to capture that kind of sentiment. You talked about how you had a background in law enforcement, but obviously you're doing music now. So talk about sort of growing up, so what your interest level was in music and how you pursue the career in law enforcement, and how now maybe the focus is clearly more on the music.
Again, it was an accident how this all because I never in my life dreamed for a moment I'd be doing what I'm doing now. Um, I was always the high and tight haircut, and if I wasn't doing law enforcement, I was working, very high end bodyguard work or things of that nature. So it just, and then I got into the martial arts world. I mean, I'm sure you can see it behind me. It's amazing, and
Yeah.
and yeah, it just, again, it was just a. The only way I can say is just by accident. It became this because I never, growing up, I never had any interest in performing or doing anything like that. I mean, I played the freaking drums in the marching band. I mean, high school.
Yeah.
My dad had a drum set, so I would go up and play his drum set when he wasn't home and get yelled at later because he saw I moved some stuff. Um, that was about it, man. I mean, I was the guy that would always sing in the car, I would always sing in the shower, that kind of stuff. But I never put two and two together that I could do anything. And one day I was with my kids in the car, and a song came on. I think it was a George Michael song or something, and I started singing with it. And both my kids looked at me, and then my son said, or my daughter said, "Dad, you should go on American Idol." And I go, "What the hell are you talking about, American Idol? Were you nuts?" I go, "Dad, you sounded just like him just now. Like your notes were like, it's just your voice matched what he was doing." And so I brushed it off, never gave it a second thought. So again, for me to do the music, I never did singing lessons. I never did anything professional. It was just something inside me, I guess, that I never knew I had.
No, it's always interesting, when somebody, has that and they don't know about it. I mean, obviously, he's been a musician for a long time, but I've heard Miles Kennedy, the musician, talk a lot about how he always thought of himself as a guitar player. But anybody who knows him, he sings with Alter Bridge and he's in Slash's band, among other things, and having a solo career. And then you hear that guy sing, and you're like, wait, that guy thinks he's not a singer. It's like you have that voice. It's like, yeah, I just kind of always play guitar. So it is kind of interesting. And it's funny that you say George Michael, because that is, you mentioned Ozzy Osbourne before. You're sort of, you're like a Southern rock style sort of band. I didn't think George Michael was going to factor into this story at all, but
But if you listen to a lot of the stuff, I mean, you'll even hear. I grew up hearing Motown and um, all kinds of different music. I mean, I went through all the crazy phases. I was, Guns N' Roses was my favorite band, and then uh, I went through the rap phase where I thought that's what I liked, and so I grew up with all kinds of different, musical backgrounds that I enjoyed. And I mean, to this day, I'll still put on a Motown channel every now and then and just listen to the music, and I try to emulate a lot of these people when I write songs or when I sing and stuff like that. But I always loved Skinner and the Allman Brothers, and you got Marshall Tucker Band, and you got all these great people out there that made this amazing music. So Southern rock just felt at home to me for whatever reason. Maybe it's a past life, I don't know, but I really enjoy doing that kind of music.
No, absolutely. And when it comes to actually being a performer, not just playing with your friends, when you guys would start doing shows, and because it wasn't something that you had worked towards, did you have in your mind like, okay, this is what a frontman does? I've I read a book about Prince, and he got off to a very rocky start just from a performing standpoint, and he would study videos of like not even his kind of music. He would watch like Jim Morrison, and he would watch like some of the best frontmen, and he's like, okay, that's how I do it. So for you, when you took the stage, would you think like, all right, I think that Axl Rose, or the Van Zants, did you think of anybody, or were you just kind of like, oh, I'll just be me?
Everything. I watched so many YouTube videos. I would literally type in, frontman or this or that, and I just wanted to see what they did on stage because one of I mean, even from our first show, I mean, it was definitely a growing experience. Um, like anything else, if you do it long enough, you get good at it. And so it took a minute. I mean, when I first started, you could tell. I mean, I hardly moved. I hardly did anything. I was definitely a Jim Morrison. I didn't move. I didn't do anything. Um, and then I just got a little more comfortable with it as time went on, and I kind of just made my own version of what I thought I should be. And yeah, it's you try to take a little bit from everyone else that's done it, all the greats, and then you just have to create your own version of what you think it should be.
Yeah, and I mean, and talking a little bit, you're talking about how much, you enjoy Motown. I mean, nobody really performed the way that I was going to say those guys, but obviously the men and women of Motown. I mean, it didn't matter what size the venue was, like they were there to put on a show. Let's talk about Hair of the Dog. Obviously you guys have a lot of original stuff, and it's funny you mentioned Guns N' Roses, because to me, I first really heard that song on the Guns N' Roses, the covers record they did called The Spaghetti Incident. I know it's a Nazareth song, and I've heard it many times since then, but I don't think I really knew it that much. I don't think, because that song had the word bitch in it, I don't think I heard it on the radio a lot, at least not when I was growing up in like the late 80s and early 90s. But I've always thought it's a great song. It has such a great hook, and a lot of times people think of that song and they refer to it as son of a bitch, but that's actually, it's Hair of the Dog. And so talk about one, the decision to do that song and actually release it, but then you also put your own touch on it. You have a little breakdown in there that is clearly, just for your version.
Absolutely. Well, believe it or not, we were turned on to a multi-platinum record producer who wanted to meet us, and his name's Timothy Eaton. He has produced every band you can imagine, from Kiss to Skinner to the Allman Brothers to Motley. I mean, the guy's he's a legend in the business. And he goes, I got an idea for a song I think you guys would fit perfect with, with your style, the way you do things, the way you think. And would you be interested? And then of course, this guy sitting in front of us, of course we vetted him, we're like, holy crap, this guy's the real deal, like. So he brought it to us, and it was actually his idea to change it up and do it the way he did it. And so he had us start practicing the song the way it was originally done, and we got pretty good at it. And then boom, we're in studio, and he's like, hands me this piece of paper and says, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to do this." And so we were in the vocal box, and he said, "Okay, now sing it like this, and sing it here, and now I want you to yell that part, speak that part, hum that part." And we did that for a couple hours, and then he got all the tracks from all the other band members, and then he left and went up to the studio in Seattle, and a couple months later came back, and we were floored. I mean, we couldn't believe what this band accomplished. And so I have to give the credit for even the spoken word rap in the middle, everything like that. That was Tim. He put it all together, and it just turned out amazing. So
Yeah, and I think that obviously when you put your own spin, but you do a cover of a song that people know, I mean, I think that's it's a great way to sort of get attention because people are like, oh wait, I hear this different version of that. And obviously, there are great covers of songs. You have instances where, like the Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower that just completely changes the song. And then I think that, this doesn't sound completely different, but it's in a way that's like, definitely a different arrangement, it's a different style. And I liked the sort of what you're referring to, the rap part, because it's like, oh yeah, this is your song. Yes, it's familiar, but you're putting something into it. And yeah, hopefully, it gets some attention for you guys. And the album has been out since last fall, as we referenced, and you've got a few videos out. So what's the plan sort of going forward? Obviously, talking to people like myself, making sure people are aware of it. Are there gigs planned for the rest of the year, or what's the next chapter for Six Gun Sal?
we're definitely working on that right now. We just headlined to Whiskey last Friday, and it was phenomenal. It was a huge turnout. It was just one of those perfect nights. Everything was perfect. The songs were all tight. The crowd was amazing. The response was incredible, and truthfully, they absolutely went nuts when we played Hair of the Dog, and when we finished it, it was just a lot of cheering. So we definitely know we hit the mark. And let me tell you, for us to be in West Hollywood, California, and be able to play our music and get the response and the turnout that we did, we know we have a product. We know we have a band that people, as more and more people hear about us and look into who we are, they're going to like it. And again, if we can win over the crowds here in Southern California, in a city specifically that you would not expect that kind of music from, we're pretty confident we're going to do well other places, because we've had a lot of people from southern states and the Midwest reach out to us and say, holy crap, when are you coming to town? I mean, holy, and the biggest kick they get out of it is that we are from Southern California, and it's just something that was unexpected. So as far as going across the country, we're planning it right now. We're looking at stops in Texas, Tennessee, I think Arkansas. We're heading up to Vermont and New Hampshire. And then we should have the final word on Florida pretty soon here. So yeah, we're just going to do our thing and keep doing what we do. And we're going to kick it off in Long Beach, March or May 28th. We're going to do our second annual Memorial Day show. The last one we did last year was an overwhelming success. We raised a lot of money for our charities that we support. American Soldier Network's one of them. And we're going to do it again. And then that's going to be the kickoff of our summer push.
Well, it'll be great. And obviously, if people want to look for all that, I understand that the website is sixgunsal.net. And then on Instagram at sixgunsal. I think that's usually the best way. I think if if I hear a new band or something, and you hear that they're on Instagram, you're like, great, let me follow them, see what they're up to, find out when they're playing. And yeah, I think it'll be great for people to get to hear, because what I've heard, the few videos you have that I saw on your YouTube channel, which is also Six Gun Sal, SAL. For some reason, somebody wants to know how to spell Sal, but and, it's out there now. And I think that it'll be great for you guys to be able to get a chance to just sort of share it with more people. And yeah, building support somewhere like Southern California, I think goes a long way. And it is, I've lived here for almost 20 years. I moved here from New York originally, and there is definitely, it is not the rock scene that you might see in videos from the 80s, but it still exists, and it's not as narrow as I think I might have thought it was. I mean, I think there's room for really a lot of different kinds of sounds, and I'm not surprised that you guys do well. And I've been to so many shows at the Whiskey. I can only imagine that that was a great night because
It was a great night. The whiskey staff was incredible. They treated us like pure rock stars, and as soon as the show was over, guys, anytime you want to come back. So when you hear that, it's a great feeling, and especially when you win over the people that run the facility, and they like you, and they appreciate how you act, because a lot of bands, they go in there to do the thing and they leave, and we like to make friends. We want people to know that, hey man, we'll do whatever we have to do to make your night easier as well. And so we like to work with the staff very closely wherever we play, and give them the credit that's due. I mean, they do a great job, so they should be acknowledged for that. And so yeah, it's been pretty cool. So we're definitely looking forward to getting out there, and just continuing to spread the brand, and let people see that we're not an overnight thing. We've been doing it now for a while, and we're focused on what we want to do and where we want to play, and we're really confident we're going to continue to win over a lot of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and it's great to hear what I've heard. I can't wait to hear more, and look forward to getting a chance to talk to you sometime in the near future, Anthony. And again, sixgunsal.net, at sixgunsal on Instagram. Thanks so much for your time. Look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Hey man, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. And next time, I don't think we'll have technical difficulties. I think we'll be.
No, no, but it was, it's the beautiful thing. The technology, it can work against you, but it can also bring you together. So I think it turned out great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.